Doubleheader, almost as exciting as it could be. I want to say we had three very good innings and one
Oh,
innings where a team just got blown away.
vibes of Bangladesh.
Welcome to another episode of the Morning After. Fardin Kibria here with me. Now, Fardin, let's talk about the second game first. Let's
Yeah,
start with the South Africa England game because I feel like we have a lot more to talk about the Netherlands Sri Lanka game.
yeah.
So, South Africa, it's as if they didn't have that whole fiasco against Netherlands at all. They just walked out as a completely different team, and that's what you expect. But first thing first, to not have their captain and to have, I'm feeling a little bold, an out and out better batter in his place. What does that do to
Doesn't
a
hurt,
team's
right?
mindset?
Yeah, I mean, uh, Bavuma, as good as a year he's had, since the T20 World Cup, where everyone criticized him for his approach and everything, with the bat. I don't think there's been a lot of talk about his captaincy because his captaincy is on par with some of the best in the world, you could say. But you always knew that, Riza Hendricks was sitting out because Bavuma was captain and playing, right? And we've seen what Riza Hendricks can do. And, illness or whatever it was, for him to come in and just hit the hit the gun straight away just speaks volumes about who he is as a player. And I think it just instilled that much more confidence in Quinton de Kock to even accelerate from ball one. He didn't have a good day today, but he just knew that even if I got out, there's that guy on the other side who can keep going. So that and for a day where David Miller didn't even get going, for him to come in on his first World Cup game, get 85, says a lot, right? So I don't know how you drop him after that, but will be interesting.
That's a very good question. How do you drop him? How important is Bavuma's captaincy? That becomes the question. Because Markram was very good today, but again, his challenge wasn't all that high, given the English batters practically threw their wickets
Threw
away
their
to
wickets
some
away.
very good bowling.
Yeah.
Okay, but before we get into that more, Henrik Klassen, the year he's having and the time he's having in I don't want to say in international cricket, in cricket in general, it's just everything he touches turns to gold.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of numbers, he's what, doing 55 average in ODI cricket this year, 300s, 100 in the IPL, 100 in MLC, in different conditions, at home, at away. He just keeps getting better and better. And one of the most important things about Klassen is not that he's only good against pace, but he's probably the best batter against spin right now. And you can see left arm spin, right arm off spin, leg spin, nothing bothers him. Um, he's very good at being aggressive and being aggressive in a smart way, not in a, that reckless way. So for him to soak in that pressure, they lost a couple of quick wickets in that phase where Markram got out, Miller got out very quickly. And for him to basically have that partnership with Jansen and just, take the game completely away because what? They were 235 for four, five?
It was 243
Yeah,
for five.
243 for five. Yeah. So 243 for five. A lot of times you're just expecting them to get rolled out, within 300. If you go based off how they did against Netherlands, you're probably thinking 260, 270 if someone doesn't go off completely, right? And yeah, I mean, what a crazy year. Like, this is the kind of year batsmen dream about having, right? So for him to have such a crazy year in cricket, not just international cricket, like you said, but all formats across the globe, is just, yeah, super crazy.
Marco Jansen, one of the most prolific young all-rounders in world cricket right now. We were talking in the last match that maybe he's not ready to be an out-and-out number 7 right
Yeah,
now for South Africa. He proved us wrong today.
yeah.
And
We
again,
seem to be
brilliant with the
getting
new
proved
ball as
wrong in this
always.
show. We seem to be getting proved wrong in this show this year, which is good though. It means
Absolutely.
guys are taking responsibility, unlike some.
Or proving us right all the time.
Yeah, now keep going.
So the English batters, I mean, not much to say. They faced some quality bowling, but before we get into that, you have to remember the last time South Africa and England faced each other in India, in Mumbai, was in 2016, that World T20 match,
2020.
record run chase for England.
Yeah,
There was a lot of talk even before the match that maybe we could see something similar with the Mumbai pitches being flat, boundaries being small. We could see something very similar again.
yeah,
We saw the first half go similarly, the second half not so much. The English batters, they just didn't know how to answer to this big total. Now, is it a little disappointing from the English perspective that, they pride themselves so much on their batting currently and their aggressive approach,
yeah,
getting big scores, especially when batting first? Isn't it disappointing that, they can't seem to chase these scores down?
yeah. I mean, that's what 3 games now where they failed massively, right? If you take the Bangladesh game away, just as a whole, as a unit, they've failed in 3 games now. But you watch Marco Jansen bat versus Netherlands. Who would have thought this guy would score 75 today? That man looked as bad as Naim Sheikh, right? But I think you put that reverse on England's batting today, where you see how England bats against, say, Bangladesh. Clinical, you know, nothing seems to bother them in all sorts, right? Um, and then they come up against South Africa or the other 2 games that they had and completely outplayed, right? And it's not like, I would understand if a lot of them got out on the boundary trying to be aggressive or things like that. Harry Brook caught behind. Um, Ben Stokes return catch. David Malan caught behind on something that actually the umpire didn't even give out, right? Only
Didn't even
Mark
appeal initially.
and Quentin de Kock didn't even appeal. Only Markram was sure he wanted the review, right? So, um, yeah, I mean, it just doesn't seem like the England that we've come to know since their resurgence in ODI cricket in 2015 after that loss to Bangladesh in Adelaide. It just doesn't seem like their team composition is right to some aspect. I feel like they're not really playing the right 11 at this moment. Moin Ali's sitting out. Um, Ristopli's injured. But yeah, I mean, when you only have to fit in Ben Stokes as just a batter, it's difficult. Stokes has the easiest life sometimes. Just come in, bat, don't worry about anything else. But yeah, I mean, like, what do you think about their playing 11? The ones that they've chosen, like, what are your thoughts? Are they reading the pitches wrong? What's going on?
It's kind of confusing. Like the whole point we were trying to make is, pushing Sam Curran up to number 7 may not be the best ploy and whatnot, and then they
Yeah,
they just go ahead and bat Willie at number 7. I mean, what difference does that make end of the
yeah,
day?
yeah,
You're
yeah.
not making a difference.
And just
And I think
because just because David Willey might open in freaking Vitality Blast in England doesn't mean he can bet 7 in a World Cup game. It's not necessarily translated like that, right? So
and was Vokes injured today, or why was he dropped?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting call. Wokes is a much more accomplished batter than any of their bowling all-rounders, right? Um, and honestly, my thought would have been if they were to drop Wokes, they would play Moeen instead, just so that extra spin option and that aggressive option at the bottom, at the lower order. But yeah, I mean, their team selection is also puzzling, which doesn't
I
really
mean,
help.
they bowled Root first change after Topley's injury, and they basically
Yeah,
gave him 6 overs. Like it
yeah,
wasn't just him
yeah.
coming in bowling that one ball. He
No,
came in for 6 overs, which
yeah.
again, it's fine. Root can bowl. We know that he can bowl. He's had a lot of impact in red ball cricket. But if you really need an off spinner, it doesn't really make too much sense to have Moeen sitting out.
No.
Or for that
And
matter, even at least try and play Liam Livingstone.
yeah,
He's going to give you some overs of off spin and leg spin.
yeah, I mean, I think what they did wrong today was they thought they would able to bounce out South Africa or, rush South Africa for pace. They kind of saw how South Africa crumbled against Netherlands. But Netherlands, they crumbled because not because of pace, because Netherlands bowlers just hit a very good line. And when we get to that game, I'll talk about like the line difference between that game and the Sri Lanka game. But they hit a very good line that was really hard to make anything out of. So to play Gus Atkinson and think that you're gonna bounce them out or whatever it is, it doesn't really work because all of these guys play at Newlands and stuff like that where freaking they're pulling the ball for six any day of the week. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Not really working for England right now. Their World Cup seems done.
I think missing, like, the talk about their bowling, the negative talk about their bowling was also present in 2019, but
Yeah.
they had someone like Liam Livingston, sorry, Liam Plunkett
Plunkett.
holding the bowling attack from
Yeah.
beginning to end. He could bowl with the new ball, he could bowl in the middle. He usually operated in the middle and came in at the dead as well sometimes. And
Yeah.
he just held the bowling attack together from beginning to end, along with someone like Jofra Archer, who was constantly attacking, especially with the new ball.
Yeah.
That's the sort of combination they're missing right now.
Yeah. I think that holding bowler, right? That fourth pacer or the third pacer, like that holding bowler, like you said. But it's also confusing if they're trying to go for wickets, right? If their idea is we're trying to pick wickets in this new brand of cricket that we're playing, how is Adil Rashid bowling fifth change or sixth change? Like, how is Adil Rashid your sixth option? That makes no sense. And especially when you're seeing Wood and Atkinson are going for runs. Topley's going for runs. Root cannot hold up one end. Why wouldn't you introduce your leg spinner early? Someone who's been so successful and part of this resurgence for England. So it's a shame. I mean, they kind of disposed Liam Plunkett after the World Cup. They didn't really find anyone to replace him. Richard Gleeson looked like he might have been a replacement. Didn't really play much after that. And then
Saqib Mahmood maybe.
Saqib Mahmood maybe, yeah, Saqib Mahmood looked like, but he's gotten injured like 4 or 5 times. And then Jofra's there with the team, but now they're saying that he's not available for selection. I don't know what is going on. It's uh, something someone mentioned, which is interesting, is when Matthew Mott was coach of Australian women's team. The Australia women's team, the players and as a group, they were so strong. Like the women's team, Australian women's team is, you know, at a different level than other women's cricket teams, right? So sometimes the success they had as a team was not really reflective of him as a coach. So think about if they had a coach who was actually able to reflect that, then Australia might have done something else. Maybe, but it is also true that Matthew Mott won a T20 World Cup less than a year ago. So you can play it both sides, but it seems like England's got a same issue as Bangladesh in some aspect. অনেক tactical নাচানাচি
Maybe
হচ্ছে অনেক too many tactical, yeah, it's just
maybe it's also got to do with the whole, we were talking about how they didn't focus too much on on ODI cricket. since winning the World Cup. Maybe it's got to
Yeah.
do with that. Maybe they're just trying to replicate that entire T20 success into ODI. See, Liam
You see?
Livingstone until a few months ago wasn't regularly featuring in the ODI side. Harry
Mm-mm.
Brook wasn't either.
Yeah.
These guys were sort of
And
brought
Jason
in
Roy
due
got
to their
dropped.
T20
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
Jason Roy got dropped. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jason Roy's, again, I still rate him as one of England's finest ODI openers.
Yeah.
Not T20,
100%.
definitely not Test, but ODI openers. Again,
100%.
nowhere to be
100%.
seen.
Not there, right? And it's kind of looks stupid. Quetta Gladiators tweeting to ECB that if you need a prince or something, our man Jason Roy is ready. Like, why are you trying to be relevant in this scenario? Makes
These
no
T20
sense.
sides, they gotta do what they gotta do.
Yeah, yeah, like it's freaking. They always just want to stay relevant. Quetta
I
Gladiators
mean,
out here.
Multan Sultans are finding a way to make it to the
Yeah,
news,
I
though.
mean, yeah, I mean, they've gotten two women's coaches now. Whatever. I mean, yeah.
One spin
Uh,
bowling coach, one pace bowling
one
coach.
pace
Oh.
bowling, which yeah, yeah.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing Mohammad Rizwan doesn't bowl.
Someone said now that the coach is that how it will Rizwan make eye contact with them. My favorite.
He doesn't bowl. He
He
doesn't have
doesn't
to.
bowl, so he doesn't.
Okay. Now, again, coming back to this match, again, not too much to discuss. England's failures are all over the place right now. I mean,
Yeah, they're
there's
just
only
not
so
clicking as
much
a
you can.
unit, right?
Yeah.
They're just batting, bowling, nothing's really doing it.
There's only so much you can just sort out magically within one game or two.
Yeah,
The problem seems to be way too big. Even if they manage to find two or three more wins going into the tournament, I really don't see them making the top four now.
no, no.
As for South
The
Africa, well,
palms are done. The palms are done. Aussies are happy. They're basking in the sun. They're thinking about, oh, the palms are done. They can't even retain the ashes. They can't even play at the World Cup. Aussies are having a day out right now
feels like an eternity ago when the English side conquered the T20 World Cup in
in
Australia.
Australia. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah.
It's only been a year, but again,
But see
a
now,
year
this is
can
what
change a
happens
lot.
when you prioritize something like the 100, a format no one else in the world plays, over your own domestic one-day league. The domestic one-day league is literally at a point where it's second 11 players, premier cricket players playing against each other in some teams. You have Somerset that have 9 of their players at the 100 from their first 11. And then you have Northamptonshire who've only lost one player. Like it's freaking crazy. And then
And it's
with
disappointing because the
Pitbishaw
Royal
scores
London
200.
One Day Cup, yeah, the Royal London One Day Cup was supposed to be one of the most prestigious List A tournaments in the world. And
Yeah,
this is what it is right now. It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
It's a shame.
South Africa, again, phenomenal. Does it help that, they have some of the players who are so naturally gifted, not just Henry Klassen. We can talk about Van der Dussen, we can talk about Markram, even Dick Cock. They're all pretty good players of spin, given that they're not from the subcontinent.
Yeah.
Does that help? Because they're naturally always going to be good against pace and bounce.
Yeah, I mean, it's just adds an extra feather to their game, like that just natural aspect of it, which just helps them so much, right? A lot of people will have to develop that side of the game, but this is something, it's a blessing for them that they have it, right? And to be, and even end of the day, even if you have it, you have to execute, right? It's not that, you can just automatically do it. So, but then yeah, I mean, people like Dickok and Klassen, just the level of execution they have is enormous, and it speaks volumes about their success as batters. Because, but Dickok's got 200s now in the tournament. Klassen's got one. South Africa's got 5, I think, in total. Crazy. Yeah, it's just
And South Africa's next opponent happens to be Bangladesh.
at one kid.
At one kid. Should we be worried or should we just take it positively because the South Africa's reputation is sort of, blowing hot
Yeah,
and
I
cold
mean, you
always.
can you can think about it this way that it was only one game ago that they lost to Netherlands, and you can be like, if we get a few wickets early, if we unsettle a few guys, maybe we might be able to restrict them. whether it is that they're batting first or they're chasing, whatever it is. But I think if Bavuma does not play, Bangladesh has a tougher task ahead of them. If Bavuma plays, there is an ability to, keep one end quiet, which may help you, create like a collapse more so than, when for Bangladesh, if two batters are going at it from both ends, they're not a good recipient of that. They do not respond well to attack from both ends of the wicket. So that's one thing they'll be hoping for.
Not to get too much into that game, we're going to obviously focus on the Netherlands Sri Lanka game, but just one thing. We spoke about how it was a bad decision for Bangladesh to bat first against India, given how good India are which
Yeah,
at chasing and Bangladesh aren't really getting runs on the board. But at the same time, we know both Bangladesh and South Africa are bad at chasing. They
yeah,
both are.
yeah.
Wankhede is flat and everything.
Bat first.
Consider
You
batting
bat
first
first.
again.
You bat first. Even Butler said it today that he thinks that he made the wrong call at toss, right? Because Wankhede, if you've seen the IPL enough, if you have seen India's games at Wankhede enough, you know that dew does not matter, pitch does not change over the two innings. It's a road. You go out there, you feast on it. And if you're not feasting on it as flat as Wankhede gets, then you have questions to answer. And so, similarly for Bangladesh, even though I believe their strength is a bit more in their bowling, this is a game you have to bat first and you have to put runs on the board. It's as simple as that. And then, you create a collapse and you hope the opposition comes to it. That's what you gotta do.
I really hope the thought process is not going to be we batted first twice
Oh
and we
yeah,
lost,
now we
and
lost.
we're going to have to.
Then you chase 400. Now let's see, maybe 475.
Coming to the first match, lots to talk about the Netherlands Sri Lanka game. Netherlands not really getting off to the best of starts. The early swing bowling from the Sri Lankan fast bowlers sort of got to them.
Kept them.
But
Yeah,
then once again, another remarkable comeback, especially by the tailenders. How impressive is this?
yeah. I mean, that's two games back to back where they were six down within 100 runs, 100 something runs. They're six down, and honestly, just watching Engelbrecht and Van Beek bat was really nice. They never let the Sri Lankan bowlers settle, which was exceptional. Uh, they kept one of the things a lot of coaches and a lot of analysts will say is when you're hitting the ball to long on and long off consistently, it means that you're in a positive frame of mind and you're getting to the ball and things like that. Every over, they kept picking out 3, 4 singles, maybe even 5 to long on, long off. And then they were finding the odd doubles here and there. There was a phase for maybe 7, 8 overs where they didn't hit a boundary until Fenbeek swept one for 4. So, and now it's like the record for the highest seventh wicket partnership in 48 years of World Cup history. Netherlands batting order seems to be like the lower order seems to be just doing it up match after match, right? So it speaks, if their top order really did click, both O'Dowd and Vikramjit, or even, Ackerman, if he went on to get a bigger score, they would have a lot more on the board and it would pose a big target for Sri Lanka.
What do you think the talk in the dressing room would have been from the Dutch perspective? Once again, you make that last stage recovery. You're coming on the high from, this phenomenal win against a team that's in form. And now you're about to defend against a team that's not in the best of form. What do you think the talk in the dressing room is just before stepping out there?
Yeah, I think it gives you so much confidence, right? When you finish the innings on a high. They're probably discussing how are we restricting, what's our game plan. And I think believe in yourself, right? You've done it once, similar situation. Believe in yourself to do it twice. And I think when they came out to bowl and that initial spell was really good. It was quite good that they got a couple of early wickets, but then Kusal Pereira got off, and then they had a third wicket, and then not for too long. But I think they did their best. It seemed like the only problem was they just didn't hit the right lengths consistently, like they did versus South Africa. It's just a lot of down leg side or a lot of short outside off kind of deliveries. And Deleda didn't really have a good day with the ball, neither with the bat. So that hurt them. Um, but what do you think like Aryan Dutt got that big wicket of Asalanka with that setup at the end? Do you think they might have held him back a little too long before they reintroduced him because they kept switching the pacers around and not really Van der Merwe didn't really come on and have a spell, only bowled 2 overs and then came back on. So you think the bowling strategy was a little off?
I wouldn't say the strategy was too off in a sense that we saw how good Asalanka can be against the off spinner. We
Yeah.
saw that particularly against Bangladesh in the Asia Cup. So maybe again, that piece of paper stays in their pocket.
Yeah.
So maybe they had they
Yeah.
had their
Yeah.
research
They
done.
were
No, this
talking
is not
about
the typical.
his average versus off spin is like 55 or something, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly. So I think they thought along those lines, like, okay, let's try and intimidate him a little with the Pacers
Yeah.
because he's not, again, not a particularly weak player of off spin, which we see from a lot of left-handers
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah.
So that probably got into their heads. Again, Samarawickrama is also a very good player of spin. So
Yeah.
maybe that's what they were thinking.
Yeah.
They definitely had to have thought along the lines of, you know, Aryan Dutt has been our best bowler today. Let's
Yeah.
try and
Let's
get
try.
as many wickets as possible. And Aryan Dutt is not a death bowler. He's a proper
No.
off spinner. He's
Yeah.
not going to bowl at
Yeah.
the death. So you could
Yeah.
just use all his overs up. There's no
Yeah.
harm in that.
Yeah.
But having said that, hindsight is 2020.
Right.
Maybe if the plan worked with the Pacers, we would have been having a completely different discussion right now.
Yeah.
So Pathum Nisanka, him taking the initial attack to the Dutch bowlers, even when they were doing well. How important was that?
Yeah. I mean, it's it talks a lot about, Nisanka and Samarawickrama. I think two very confident players. But Nisanka as a whole, he just looks like a complete batter. Any day he gets on and he does well, he just looks like a complete batter. And for him to, keep attacking, who was it? Van Meekeren and Van Beek. He kept attacking them. He went after them consistently. And, you know, I honestly thought he was gonna get 100 at one point, until he got out. But yeah, I mean, Sri Lanka's batting seems to be doing well this whole World Cup. It's just they haven't been able to put together a result as a unit yet. But yeah, their bowling is exceptional. Batting is exceptional. Especially these guys are finally standing up after years of promise. Someone wants to take credit by the name of Chandika, but he can go kick rocks.
Samarawickrama, again, a very mature innings from this young man, seeing it off till the end. Do you think an argument could possibly be made? I know they were trying for their first win, they got it. Could an argument have been made that, he could have done it faster, keeping the run rate and everything in mind?
I think when you're chasing your first win, you kind of go into a shell thinking about let's ensure the result rather than, having that positive mindset that, oh, let's try to get it as soon as possible so that, we're in a good space in terms of net run rate so that, if we do get to a position where we're threatening that number 4, number 3 position in the table, we are able to clinch it. So I think just yeah, I mean, he dropped down to what, 84, 82 strike rate or something like that, towards the end of it. And for the game to go on till 48th over, 48.2, I think. they were in a position to finish it off much earlier than that. So yeah, they kind of went into a shell just to ensure victory.
Cutting it a little close, as we say,
Yeah,
basically
yeah,
cutting it a little
yeah, a
close.
little close. Man, with 10 balls to spare, it doesn't r- because they needed what 49, 48 runs with like a lot of overs left. So yeah,
What's good is now all teams have ensured at least one win, which in cricketing terms is pretty rare
yeah, yeah,
in a
yeah,
World Cup.
yeah. Because what Afghanistan last time didn't win anything, right? No wins for them last year. So yeah, I mean, good for the game. It shows teams are evolving, and we need a 16-team World Cup, not a freaking 10-team World Cup.
All right, Fardin, final thoughts on the Sri Lanka Netherlands game, and we can wrap it up.
Yeah, Netherlands really pushing it. I think they're evolving game to game. Will be good to see if they can clinch even one more victory out of this, because if they do, I think they'll consider it to be a very successful World Cup to go home with 2 wins at the minimum. And Sri Lanka, like I said, they've been batting really well. It's just not clicking as a unit. And I think even today it didn't really click as a unit because they weren't able to finish off Netherlands' innings as early as they should have. They didn't really go for the kill. Dushan Hemanta does not fit the bill for me a little bit. Uh, Tough on Dunetwela Lage to get dropped. But yeah, I think we will be seeing um, in the next couple of rounds where Sri Lanka and Netherlands both end up on the table. Um, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, Sri Lanka could have been a little more clinical today just
Yeah,
to, establish their dominance, but that's easier said than done.
yeah.
When you're 3-0 down, when you're the only team that's
Team that hasn't
3-0 down,
won. And
that's
especially
that's just
because they
difficult.
came out of the qualifier where Zimbabwe looked like Zimbabwe was gonna come to the World Cup too, right?
Hmm.
So it raises some eyebrows and questions about,
Right, 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 right,
yeah.
right. Absolutely. So again, it's good signs that Netherlands put up a really good fight. So we're hoping that they get one win out there somewhere, and it's good. Like it's good for the overall competitive structure of the World Cup because the next game Sri Lanka play are against England, who are
Out,
in
down
a
and out,
massive spot of
down
bother.
and out. Exactly. Yeah.
And in the
And
last World Cup, they did defeat England, so that's
they
also
yeah,
important.
yeah, yeah. And I think one good thing is they dropped Lahiru Kumara, thankfully. Right?
Mhm.
Just goes for so many runs, no point. Rajita and Madhushanka has been doing well. So
They were really
some
good today in the
yeah,
pace attack
yeah.
up front. They
So
were really good.
so some really good positives there for Sri Lanka to go ahead before England.
All right, so that's a wrap. Thank you, Fardin, and thank you for watching, everyone.
Thank you.